My next and my last guest here on the red carpet at the Author Castle today is Schlyce Jimenez. I'm going to ask her to join me out here. We're going to have an amazing conversation. Schlyce, you're looking fantastic. Hello.
Thank you.
Well, welcome. Your book,
Yes.
The Path, Journey with God and Fulfill Your Purpose. Tell us about this book and why you wrote it.
Okay. Well, this book is written for people who know that they need to hear God about their true life purpose. And I wrote this book because it's kind of interesting. I'm celebrating my 50th birthday this event.
Or the 25th anniversary of your
my
second
50th
birthday. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. But I share that because I spent well over half my life without a clue about who I was, why I was on the planet, who God really was. I just had no answers to really what were the most important questions you can ask in life. And I really don't want anyone else to have to waste all that time or to have to go through the painful process that I did to find true fulfillment and meaning, which is what this process of even working with you has been all about for me. I mean, just becoming an author is about my true life purpose. And I want everyone to feel this. Everyone has a shine set, a gift, has something to share that is uniquely them. And I really, because it feels incredible, you want everyone to have that feeling.
I always looked at people, whether it was in high school or college or when I was in the corporate world, and for so many people, at least that I would observe, it seemed so easy for them, like they knew what they were supposed to be doing. And I tried to figure out what my job was for like 20 years. And I was doing this thing on the side while I figured it out. I would help people write their books. So for like 17 years, I tried to figure out my career. I did various degrees. I did a PhD in philosophy. I thought about going to law school. I did a master's degree. I decided I was going to be a sign language expert. So I joined the Actors Guild, the union, and I was directing plays and stage managing plays. And I was like, someday, and my family would say this to me, like, oh, do you have a real job yet? And I was like, no real job, just helping people get their books written. And I was just like, when do I figure out what my thing is? What do you think the difference is for people who it's just easy to find their thing and people like me and maybe you who struggled?
You know, I can relate because for me it was more like I would look to people who were like child prodigies or child actors or, you know, Britney Spears or something like that. And I would just be like, oh, just so jealous that these people by the time they're 17 are just like these incredible people. And I really believe that it isn't a one size fits all. And I don't think there's something wrong with you or I because it took us a journey to find our purpose. I believe that the journey is what prepared us for our purpose. And I don't think you would have been the person, for example, that you are today if you had not spent all that time and all that experience in really finding yourself.
Reading self-help books.
Totally. And that's the same for me. I mean, it's taken me this long to honestly be qualified to help someone else not go through everything that I went through.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm going to ask you a question from Carrie from Minnesota because I think this ties in. Carrie says, if you have an online program, is it beneficial to have a book go with it? I recently created an online program and I feel compelled to turn parts into a book. I think that's a little bit of your story too.
It's totally my story, and it's kind of interesting because what I find a lot of people do is they actually write a book. And then after they've written the book, you know, they'll go back and do like a handbook for it or a workbook, or they'll do a online course as a companion to the book. Well, and obviously the person that's asking this question,
Carrie, hello.
Carrie, hi, yes, did the exact opposite of that. And I've had an online program before I wrote The Path for 2 years. And truthfully, if I hadn't written the program first, then I really couldn't have written the book because it was the program, it was the students that have been going through the program, it was the clients that I was working with in the program that really proved my message, that it actually works, that I'm not just, you know, another person with another whatever find your purpose message, that we have real stories of real people that are lives look completely different after going through my program. So for me, it was absolutely the right way to go about the process. And so I think, Carrie, I would tell you that you are exactly where you need to be. Like, you writing the course first was the best path for you.
So my next question is from, let's see, we'll take this one from Donna. And I think this might be related to what you teach your clients as well. Donna's from Birmingham, Alabama, and she says, how did you overcome what was stopping you from achieving your success? Now, when you came to me, your program was already successful. I know it's blown up. It's been sold out since you've been in preparing for the book. I know it's going to be even more sold out now. But how do you think whatever stood in your way before you launched your program, how did you overcome that? And then, like, this next level of success, what are some of your keys or lessons for when you get blocked and you hit those upper limits?
Well, it's interesting because as being someone who is a life coach and works, and mentors people, you would think that I would know this. But honestly, the key for me was getting a coach. I am such a big believer in coaches at this point, and I will never go another day in my life without having one or more.
Me too.
Right. And so for me, I've been called to be an author for 17 years. And so this was a ridiculous time. And granted, I wouldn't have written this book. It would have been a different book I would have written. So there's, it worked out in the end. But I also know that without really working with you and without having that mentor in my own life to really pull out my full potential, I probably would still be watching this,
watching this broadcast,
right,
somebody else on this.
What's wrong with me? Why haven't I written a book? And the truth is, there was nothing wrong with me. I just needed to practice what I preach.
Yep. Yeah. So often the books that we're called to write are the lessons that are our like core or soul lessons. So Joanne asked a question. We can have a little conversation because I have a lot to say about this too. But Joanne says, why do you think writing courses discourage would-be writers more than encourage them? I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I will tell you, when I started my business, I had this idea. And it's that I just wanted to focus on marketing people's books. And so I decided to go to writers' workshops and writers' courses. And I would attend them as an attendee. And then I would just make friends with people. And everybody who finished their book, I would market their book. So I went to all these writers' workshops. And you know what I learned? The one way to find people who are never going to finish their book is to go to writers' workshops. That's where people who don't finish their books go. And I think it's because it creates this safe space. I talk about my weight loss journey, like wanting to want to lose weight.
Oh, yeah.
So writers, workshops, writers courses, it's like wanting to want to write a book.
Yeah.
So for you, when you think about the difference between like learning about how to write a book compared to the particular boot camp I walked you through, what do you think is the difference, and why do you think most people stay in that space you were in for 17 years of wanting to write a book?
Well, I feel like there are activities that you can do that feel like you're making progress towards your goal when absolutely you're procrastinating your goal. But it kind of placates that fear without actually you recognizing that's what's happening. And so even for me, it's like writing curriculums, doing, the events that I was doing, public speaking, all of that stuff. It felt like I was making progress towards this, book writing goal, when honestly, all of it was just really a bunch of nonsense to keep me from doing the thing I was afraid to actually do. Because I was secretly, subconsciously thinking I wasn't good enough to do it.
Right. So what's the difference between indulging in secretly, subconsciously thinking you're not good enough to do it and actually writing your book? How long did it take you to write your book when it actually came to writing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to work with the author incubator, I'm going to get this process done. First of all, the investment kind of freaked me out at first. But I also heard what you said when I had an existing course. I had a platform, although not what it is now. And it was interesting how the ROI was immediate. I mean, literally, I made back the money that I invested within 30 days.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Huge. But that also kept me busy. I was busy working
with all these new clients.
Right,
Yes,
busy with the new clients, busy with the launch to get that. And which was really important. But what it meant is that I was procrastinating once again, doing good things or whatever, to actually doing the book. So for me, I'm one of these people that like all hell broke loose, right? So I had sick kids, I had a sick husband. It was just like one thing after the other. So I ended up with about 2 weeks before the deadline when I actually sat down and did it. Well, the other thing that I did too is I kept rewriting the intro.
I told you not to do that. Did you put the tattoo?
No, after you told me to stop, I stopped. But I did it for like a week before I finally
Before we talked.
And so I feel like I wasted, a lot of time before I got down to business. And then I ended up sick when I had to write it. So it was a lot of stuff. But the point is, what I did is you just offered really great practical advice. Like I would have thought you had to write the book, for example, in chronicle order. No, I skipped to the easiest chapter for me to write. You told me to write forward, which I kept doing. I got stuck multiple times, but I would notice if I would just leave that, go write something else, it would just resolve. Somehow, magically, just resolve the next time I was there.
Amanda says, how do I get unstuck? Amanda, this is the answer. Keep writing forward. The way you get unstuck is action. The way you stay stuck is thinking about stuff. Stop thinking about stuff and go do it. Whatever the next step that you know is to do that.
Totally. And it worked for me. And I ended up with such a big book that by the time we were done, my editor cut 2 chapters. I wrote 3 books in one. So I already have
The next book ready.
The next 2, at least the concept, and at least probably 2 chapters of each of them done. So
I love it.
It's awesome.
So this is the thing when I say it takes 24 to 48 hours to write a book, and people are like, that's not possible. Like, you've seen 2 authors up here, both Shine and Schlyce, saying 2 weeks. It was not 2 weeks of all-nighters. Their family went away. Their kids left. They had no clients. They had no other work. They're alone in a cabin in Vermont writing for 2 weeks. It was more like 2 weeks with a whole same life you have right now. And did you like get up early or stay up late or?
I did. That last week, I really just told my family I've got to get this done, and so we just worked together. And so I mean, it was a reasonable schedule because you can only write for so long before your brain locks up. So it was no more than 6 hours probably a day.
Yep.
Because I couldn't. Your brain, for me, it was just too much to do more
So
than that.
people so often in my program will say, I'm late, I'm running behind. I'm like, you can't be. If it's not 3 days before the due date, you are not running behind. And people are like, what do you mean? I can't write a whole book in 3 days. Yeah, you can. All right, last question for you. We've got 4 minutes left of this broadcast. Yeah. Dale from Atlanta says, let's say you've always knew that you had something in you that could transform lives. How has the Author Incubator made your dream a reality?
It held me accountable to what I already knew I was supposed to do. And Dale, I can tell you right now, I know that pain of knowing you're supposed to do something, but you don't know exactly what's holding you back. I also know what it's like to find the answer to prayer and it be a program and a structure and accountability that you need for whatever reason, your personality. I mean, there's nothing wrong with needing that. I think, like I said, I'll never have go another day without having a coach. I mean, I'm not going to another conference, as a matter of fact. I mean, I determined that conferences were like the slow approach to breakthrough.
It's like writer's workshops.
It's totally. So I really, you're this close. It's literally a decision.
It's a choice.
It's a decision that you are going to do it. And then I will tell you, whatever you need, the money, the support, it will show up when you decide. And I can't recommend, this program or Angela enough. It's been life transforming for me.
Let's show people the path. Come on over near me. Yeah. Make sure we get a good shot of this one. This is Schlyce Jimenez's book, The Path, Journey with God and Fulfill Your Purpose. The link is on the screen. Take that link, download the book, send it to a friend. This is the time to get it absolutely free and see where you are on your path and your journey with God. Schlyce, congratulations on this book.
Yes, thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you.